Sanguine Depths 15 on the Death Knight. Death Knight, the rare double hunter Ellie Shaman team. Retsuko is the reigning champion of explosives with like 100 in a previous dungeon. Not explosive week. This is a Sanguine week, and I don't know. We never do anything too impressive on First Lantern. We just get our buff from two packs, and that's fine. I think overwhelming people with Echoing Blade and an additional Huntsmaster, and really anything else like from that hallway it's a little rough, especially since you're moving a lot. The Mist Dancer, the Echoing Reprimand, I think is the name of the ability, repeats where it was previously cast at physically, like in the game. So when you're moving for Sanguine and you're moving a lot and you have that ability, Echoing recommends the Rogue ability. It's whatever this one is. Mist Dancer does it. Echo something. But anyway, don't want to move them too much, and you have to move them like 6 times for Sanguine Puddles, then you are going to be moving them a lot. But I generally don't overcomplicate first pull. We usually just take it into here. Sanguine Depths is another dungeon that I would consider to be a fairly generous timer. I think it's one of the it's one of the few dungeons where I feel like the timer's free, but the bosses can be rough. And if you're inexperienced and don't know the trash very well, the trash can definitely be rough. Although, ever since they took the pedal off the Fury mobs, it's been way better. I think we get a good use of Pod Tender out during the dungeon. But the Sanguine Depths with Sanguine is notoriously like a shitty dungeon. But I'm on a Death Knight. I'm not sure that there's a better tank. See, and I'm thrusting. The Echoing Thrust was the name of it. Kind of all over the place. Free note, the Brute, when it jumps, you don't really have to move out of the circle. It doesn't do additional damage. It just does the same damage to everybody. It's like a troll. It's just, I don't know. And I'm a little upset that this mob's still alive, because that means I didn't direct the damage well enough. But it's just a 15, not a big problem. You really hate to have one mob left in the pack, though, just for the record. You always kind of cleave off the highest health mob. But this is just a walk by. You can, and I didn't do it here, but Zari was tanking the other day, and yeah, you can just taunt pull those boxes and get your buff. And yeah, boxes are totally worth picking up, especially if you don't have to pull a pack to do it. And that'll set you up for this pull to get through it a little quicker, and then you can use like this guy for the next pull. Definitely make sure you're getting kicks on the ticks. They're going to build up stacks, and it's just going to do more and more damage. Just try to shut them down. You can see the Lords of Dread heroic trinket that I totally didn't get in raid, and got from like a weekly quest. That CC goes out. Very nice trinket if you ever just want additional CC. It does good damage, and given that it is a AoE crowd control, I highly recommend running it. If you feel like you can afford it. I don't really have the greatest trinkets on my Death Knight. I guess I do have a scale, but nothing really that would even compete with a 272 item for the most part. So we run that. This pull can definitely be rough, especially Grievous Week. The slam makes sure that people are constantly getting hit for 10+% of their health, putting them in Grievous. You see a Death Knight drop low, but again, Purg's not activated. You just feel really comfortable. I mean, you can just do whatever, and then, if you see Purgatory, you just vamp, double Death Strike, and you're good, right? Like, this patch, I've not been in a situation where I couldn't Death Strike my own Purg off, but you know, of course the healer is going to be healing you as much as they can as well. But you just feel very safe on the Death Knight for this one particular reason. Again, the Brute's last mob up. If you can cleave off it and, you know, kick ticks, you know, or crowd control them in another way, I would recommend it. But again, no major hiccups. We'll pull first boss, we'll have Lust, we'll get an Ur Relic, and Grievous, this is definitely a boss that would be potentially difficult, depending on how experienced your healer is, or if you have like any particularly low health players. You know, it's just a boss you should respect, but the knockback's the worst. You can actually death advance this knockback, or you can parry it, and you know, if I had Rune Weapon up, I'd probably have parried it. Always make sure you're stepping away from boss as a tank. Look at that Necro Paladin, just, it's like Divine Toll. But step away from the boss with those orbs, drop them, and then, you know, you should generally have a plan. At the very least, you're probably fine to just make sure you're spacing them out a little bit. Just to give your healer a little bit of breathing room, you know, stagger that damage so it's not all in like 1 second. But again, I always move out. Sometimes I'll death advance so I don't get knocked back, and I'll just hit my orb. I always hit my orb first, and I tell my healer I'm doing that. And then you just have the other orbs just kind of hit melee, and if you all stand at staggered distances from each other, then that's enough to accomplish that task. Also, if you're like 150 yards away, I think you don't get orbs. I've never had anybody check, but this pull's not hard, and I would often bring this over to the Stoneborn man on the other side of this hallway. But it's triple oppressor, and so you have a few things going on. You have dark bolts from the acolytes, and those aren't too bad, but when those all just happen to hit the same person, that's when someone gets kind of like globaled like that. And that's on top of the oppressors throwing curses out, which do silence, and do damage. Oof, Hunter's got that dot. But, you know, instead of doing that, we just, you know, the potential for 3 silences with 1 curse to spell, you know, you just don't run the risk of bringing that into this pack, so if somebody gets hit. This is Fort. This guy does do a good bit of damage. And moving a bunch of casters, you know, probably could have used my mask grip and stuff like that, but again, Sanguine Depth's timer's pretty free if you don't wipe. And that may sound weird, right? But like, you can definitely do some dungeons like Mists of Tyrannicide, Tyrannical, right? You can no wipe that dungeon and lose to the timer if you're just like very slow on first boss, or you have struggle on the second boss for whatever reason, or even just lose one person for an extended period of any boss fight. I feel like as long as you kill the second boss in Sanguine Depths, you can kind of deal with the other bosses with less than a full party, whereas you know, they just add 30-40 seconds to the fight. Whereas Mist, it's like, dude, if you lose the DPS on first boss, once he goes into his DR phase and the dots ticking and getting repeatedly feared, you're just so slow on damage. Look at this LOS here. Pro LOS by the tank here. Up and coming. You can use a lot of things to LOS stuff, and LOS stuff will prevent application of a lot of kind of anything that you're being targeted with. So that was a nice little, and I tried to set this up so I can dodge, but I think I ignore it because I'm busy doing other shit. Yeah, and I mess it up. That's what I do. Again, 2 oppressors here, so that's potential for 2 curses to be put on your healer. Certainly doesn't help. I just stand here. Okay. Yeah, like it's... I don't know. Okay, I do eventually break. I forget about Sanguine here. Sometimes you just get lost in your head. This pack definitely took longer to kill. So what I probably would do next time is, if it's not like, I don't know, I do a lot more damage on my paladin. I feel like my DPS there may have been the difference of getting that killed a lot quicker. But if you can get this group onto the lantern, that's ideal. Kill this group and Woe Relic, and then you can skip the next 2 packs and even just run past to get to one of the other lanterns in the kind of circle room. Again, we don't kick Woe because that's for nerds. Paladin Bubbles is a good bubble. Especially because you have more Wicked Oppressor casts going out right at that instant. So we walked away with three buffs. Sometimes it don't go too well. Yeah, it didn't look like anybody particularly had like CDs for this pack. And Woe buff is great. They've really put them kind of everywhere that people would normally use skips. Yeah, look, I come here. I know we're not getting a reset, and since, I would usually wait to open these, but I'm the tank, and it's only going to get worse from here, especially because we're probably going to buff pull either the one Shackles goes out. Oh, I remember this. We kept, if Shackles goes out and you have a paladin, you want to freedom that off somebody. You can post haste jump it. You can also just kick it from the warden, and I reacquire the skull target. But the only reason I'm opening the lanterns this early is because I'm the one doing it, and I don't want to have to deal with that shit later in the poll when I'm like, kiting near dead guys away from Sanguines and scribes that don't really move. If you get like in 2 yards of them, they'll move forward. Sometimes it's, and so we with the shameful, even worse than the 3 buff, we get the 2 buff. But hey, that's 2 more than we have when we don't do it. So the fortified trash here is definitely something that can mess you up. If you're just methodical and you don't like the patrols take you by surprise, it's pretty okay. Unless your tank just gets deleted by Ravagers like after the boss, or like, if you pull that 3-pack. And so this scribe is going to be right next to the dead scribe, and so I'm trying to like run them away from each other. The Furies will follow me out, but the scribe is not guaranteed. I have grip for that. I don't know if we mask the others. Good bit of damage goes out. The fortified trash with Grievous, it's no joke. Especially when you are a Death Knight, and I don't know. I think people are confident with me taking a Death Knight, but your tank's spiking more than a normal tank. It does kind of distract you a little bit as a healer, maybe even a DPS that's watching bars. But no problem here. The Vestige of Doubt used to drop that puddle, and it would like tick for like 3/4 of your health. So 2 ticks, you were insta dead. The Chamber Sentinels in this room on either side of the door you come in on, or either side of the boss, regardless whichever way you're looking at it. You can parry that dot, by the way. It will be a random one on either side, and there's 4 or 5 on each side. So if you're going to set up some lantern stuff, which it's easier to do not on fort, then you want to consider this. If you get them early, what you can do is whittle them down and then drag them to this. Since it's one mob, I'm okay to like Oh, I'm just making her heal me. That's so rough. But I'm probably don't kill it, don't kill it. So I give up. Honestly, looking at this run, I probably just would have been better off damage-wise if we had gone. So I get a little ambitious here. The hard part about this is you have scribes that aren't going to come, and you also have that little caster quill mob. And so what I might do here is duck into that. We did get the warden kick, big kicks. I have a grip coming up for the scribe, so we'll grip it in. And then we have this book that is casting fiery cantrips, and I guess that's to dodge them right there. I guess since it can be avoided, it's something that you might not put too high a priority on, but I'll tell you that can mess people up. Also, this curse that you see on our Hunter Jada there, you do want that to run most of its course and then dispel it. We have Agratsuko probably dispelling that. Cast about to be murdered. I was probably late on gripping this in, and now I probably don't have a grip, and it's going to be in Sanguine. And then I Trinket stunned it in Sanguine, so, you know, that's my life. But this is the special kind of hell, you know, that it's not even just necessarily one thing about Sanguine Depths. It's kind of just, everything's just kind of like, kind of lame. The small hallways for Sanguine is lame. It's always, oof. They're not like convenient LOS on a lot of areas, especially in this room. You know, it makes it difficult to move mobs around. And yeah, Death Knight with a grip. You do want to be careful not to pull those Ravagers mid-boss fight. So you also don't want to just pull 3 of them and just fight them by themselves, because it's a waste of time. If you're real close to the boss, this first lane, it won't apply a curse to you as a tank, so you don't have to worry about dodging it. All the other ones you do. And DPS, unless you're right on tank on the bull, then I wouldn't try it. But the dot applied by this laser, right? That's it's a curse, can't be decursed, and it's like a haste reduction. So you definitely mega want to deal with it. Get dismantled here. We parried the dismantle. Death Knight set is cool. You can just mostly keep Dancing Rune weapon up unless you find yourself like not spending generating your runes, you know, through kiting or what, right? But it's nice you just maintain a lot of parry. I just dropped my weapon, so not a big deal. Still have other CDs as a, and I. Paladin started calling, Kaz starts calling it out, and I just saying this, that one. She says, jerk. The big danger on this boss is always the damage coming out during the fleeting manifestation. Like, people think Castigate's it because it's the big obvious, oh, Castigate's super bad thing. Castigate sucks, right? But it's the Castigate overlap with the fleeting manifestation that's what kills people. Also, you know, if they walk through any of this crap on the ground, which is left by the ad, where they get hit by the lane, but just the 2 things is enough to get you killed. So if you get any combination of the 3, you're just like dead. So you very rarely want to focus boss instead of killing the ad, but obviously if the health is lower on the boss, kill the boss. So this is precisely 1.5 or 1.65 count. So you see me just run, because one, I got threat on him. You can like threat cap a mob by generally, I didn't put too much in, but generally you do enough damage to a mob, then you can kite him for a bit, but it's like eventually somebody might catch up to you. And I don't go have a threat meteor. Here comes the heroic trinket, by the way. and the CC persists through damage, so that's very nice. But you know, if you have threat on a mob and enough of it, you can just kite a little bit and just run away a little bit, and people generally won't pull off you. If you have 2 hunters in the group and somebody pulls off you, you know, somebody could have helped you out there. It's not any one person's fault, but you know, hey, we got threat buffs today, but the servers aren't up, so we're doing this. But ghouls or whatever, they do enrage, and we do have 2 hunters that are shooting, you know, that, presumably. And you just gotta paint the room and not paint yourself into a corner. So we go Chamber Sentinel into this pole, which can be kind of sketch. I wouldn't really recommend doing this unless you're experienced and confident you can take this damage. Not like I'm super duper duper good or anything, but taking, you know, 12k damage taken per second means you can, you know, and this is with parry up, right? So it's a genuine amount of damage, and you can get caught off guard, especially if you let the ghouls get behind you or something. And you see here I'm starting to fall low. We're death striking back up. We're at 15k deep. Now we run. We drop our D&D and run. Run, you idiot. Oh, it was a bad D&D. So what I should be doing here, oh man, noted. What I should have done there is drop the D&D like behind me a little bit, so that the ghouls would have to have run through the whole thing while being slowed, you know, decreasingly slowed, but certainly slowed, especially right at the beginning. And that would have been easy separation. And you are a little squishier if you res someone, which I did. Had to res the paladin. That's runic power you don't get to death strike with, so it has a direct effect on your survivability. So, you know, when that's happening, you probably want to be a little bit more careful. I could have IBF too. I didn't even like. I think I like taking an enormous amount of damage and then death striking it up. It's the only thing that I can think of. The Fury was casting the curse. So that curse, by the way, that I said you want to leave on for most of it, it gives you a damage buff. It's like 25%. So that's why you want to leave it on, and you don't want to kick it. So Remnant of Fury, don't kick that unless you don't have a curse to spell, or you don't trust the person with the curse to spell, or you're not in comms and it's a pug or whatever, right? Like so. Vestiges of Doubt are like the last enemy in the game that just auto you. And if you want to go downstairs, I bet I'm thinking right now that I can get a woe to skip the big 3 downstairs when I can't. Because you know, sometimes the brain don't work so well. And I did call for this woe because when we missed a kick, of course. I do call for this kill. Oh, the Harvest Shackle goes out. Because, I don't know, I thought about it the other day. We have another pod. I just said to myself I would like the movement speed when going back to the second boss area, especially because you pull kind of deep into this circle and you're kind of backtracking as you come back. Anyway, if you're not skipping any mobs, you need like 72% before you go down. And if you are going to skip the big 3, you can get away with like 74%. Big 3 being the last 3 mobs before the Gauntlet, which is a Mist Dancer, a Chamber Sentinel, and an Overseer. But if we do pull them, I can show you how we pull them. I think we do, because I haven't invis-potted anything in a long time. But the movement speed coming back is nice. It was brought to me that it spits you out pretty close to the boss. I guess that's fair. So, you know, just do be careful. The triple oppressor? The quad oppressor pull? Maybe. And see, as you can see, I let the Vestige of Doubt, which, again, only melees anything, murder my healer because I'm bad. You know, I didn't even put a dot on it. I should have done that, you know. You gotta protect your healers. And remember, don't touch something that's gonna come for your healer or whichever DPS opens up on it. Death Grip, always great for a quick interrupt. And if it weren't Sanguine, I'd probably just pull this guy into the boss. Any other affix, just pull him right on top of the boss. But you don't even want to mess around with it. Like, just 15 minutes left. You probably hear this a lot from me. You know, I'm looking at time left. And that's probably the only time I really... I like to say to myself that I don't look at the time left too often. But I guess I do occasionally. When it comes to making decisions on you know, what we try. If we do anything kind of, you know, a little spooky. Not very spooky, it's just one mob, but you know, you don't want to Sanguine the boss, because it mess you up, right? As a tank, I think there's a little bit of responsibility on this fight to, you know, not impede anybody's orb getting, especially if you're a tank with a cheap death. Like, there'll be a couple under boss, especially if you have all range, which we do. I guess we have melee healers, but Iron Spike's no joke. But you have a responsibility not to take up all the orbs, so you'll probably see me get like 1 or 2. I clicked my potion because I need to move that to a better spot. Damage isn't, you know, no joke, and the rough part is, dude, what happens here? Oh no! Yep, we get the paladin back. We get chunked a little. And no other battle royals left. Also, when there's 4 people left, then there's more orbs for everybody. You can max out at 5 because it's 20% reduction. I guess it doesn't reduce the dot after? I don't know. But the rough part of the fight is, whew, that goes out. Woo. All of this goes out, and then you have to move for like 10 seconds on the mechanic that you just saw me move forward. And yeah, I wasn't looking at how long this took me, but I'm kind of interested now. I don't know. It's 400k. I'll do the most damage in the world, especially on this fight on my death knight. I think I 5 orbed that. The rough part is being able to dip back in for that death strike. I have AMZ. I need to, you know, I vamp blood for that. Thank goodness, because I made it through with about 35% health. Just getting creamed, but if there's any tank that can move through this, it's Death Knight. We're almost there. It's probably only another minute. This is still faster than releasing, right? Dying and releasing, guaranteed. I'm like looking at numbers and trying to figure out. So I did have Rune Weapon up with the Iron Spikes. I don't think you can parry Iron Spikes. Maybe you can. I didn't appear to with Rune Weapon up. But that does, you know, return more via Death Strike because you get the Rune Weapons. Yeah, and I think I just used that AMZ just to use it. Clearly I didn't need it. But you really don't want to be too careful, I suppose. Or you don't want to not be too careful. Iron Spike's no joke. Probably only, I don't know, not only, but Paladin, you can do that. Also release right here, right? Because your release point updates to this room. Never forget the Naru if you're the tank, and I always just pull this group right out. You're gonna see me yank it like on Master immediately. And if you're DPS, don't stand in line of sight of the doorway, because then the hunters will just kind of stand there, the other hunter rather, and the casters, and they'll say, oh, I'll just start casting on this person. And I still, when I self-grip, when I mass grip to myself, I still target myself via the portrait and then press the button. I don't know. I think I used to have it bound to heal bot. I could probably just do that again. Or even just have, you know, I don't like the alt self-cast modifier, and not a big deal. It doesn't really ever seem to bite me in the butt, but we'll want to change that one day. So by the way, so we're fighting the Sentinel here, and I have the Naru. If I get the dot here, the bleed effect from the Chamber Sentinel, you can see I'm trying to stack Echoing Thrust. You can just use the Naru cooldown to wipe it off. I parried both so far, so I'm not doing that. Poor Casket's Echoing Bladed, I think, Echoing Thrusted. Port Trash is beefy. Just a lot of health. But yeah, so also if you can see, you just run out here and taunt the far right mob, and then, I don't know, Overseer is kind of a pain to leave up too long, and so is the Mist Dancer, and what were we at? Plenty of time left? Oh, about plenty of time left, but it was like 10 minutes. I'm trying to see if the LOS works right here, which, by the way, it does not, because you can't, like, you can't get past where I am, right? You just see that, so that didn't work. But the Oppressive Aura, you know, does, you know, causes you to deal reduced damage, and it's still probably more damage to pull all of them together, but you just fight those mobs for too long. It's a pain in the butt. It's just not even fun because you're doing no damage. General Call a little dangerous. For ranged players, please don't stack on each other. You know, this is from your tanks. Because General Call does do like a Shadow Step out and then an AoE bleed application, which does damage up front and then bleeds you. As you can see, the Hunter and Ellie Shaman both got hit. And that's a bleed, so again, not dispellable. Paladin probably doesn't want to use a Blessing of Protection on that stuff. But if you do have the bleed, you know, this Naru CD will remove it. Definitely the hardest lantern in the game if you're a tank and you're the Venthyr in the party is this next one. And it is fortified, and we are going to get an buff here, so again, we just play a little safe. We could have brought all this stuff into the lantern. You know, I only have IBF, I don't have Vamp up, and my rune weapon just fell off. Good use of the teleport, though, but I think I should start yelling at my cash, you know. So here's Purg, and then just Death Strike right out of it. Just boom. And now I have to deal with opening this shit again. Buff helps carry us through that. And when you get all these mobs, I should have did a better mass grip, but I didn't. I lose my Paladin here again. Nope, she does bubble. But these mobs will not move for you unless interrupted or line of sight. And if they can cast on other people, they will. So this is all pretty messy. I feel really bad. I should apologize to our Holy Paladin here. You can see all the 2 million Sanguine healing, so we basically negated an entire person's damage for the duration of that pull. But we had 10 stacks now, and we get together for the Womb Squall. But this pull is definitely the easiest to get 10 stacks or just keep reapplying stacks. On non-fort weeks, sometimes I'll have somebody to pull that stuff up there. I do get pretty ballsy with this pull because once you kill all the Dark Acolytes or whatever, then you're just bored sitting here. And you see the weak aura, the thing that stays open for a minute. And again, the dot applied to about 2 people there. I could have just dropped the shield on him right now, but I decided not to. We have 27 seconds left on our 10 stacks. Just want to get in here or start blasting. Good use of personal cooldown there for the paladin. And the dismantler is just your number one thing is you're always pointing it away. Don't give people the opportunity to say, you know, oh, you know, it's close quarters, right? Like, I don't want to walk up and not turn the mob. It sounds simple and it's something that you don't often do unless you have a reason, but it's probably always better, you know, just to get in the habit of doing it. The mob has kind of allowed me to focus on doing that more. Also, if you ever need to just kind of stay where the smash is for any reason, you know, you can just IBF, and I think the stun immunity portion either cancels the damage or just, you know, the 40% DR just makes it very negligible. This Sentinel here, again, just like the other ones, will apply the bleed if he's lucky enough to get a hit in. I don't have rune weapon for this, so he probably does. And then you can just drop the Naru thing, and there goes the bleed. It's kind of a nasty bleed, always interrupts stone skin. You can also purge it. You know, the mage can steal it, but you know, yeah, the mage. Make sure you never find yourself accidentally targeting like some animal weapons, because they'll disappear once the skirmishers do, and that's kind of what will happen on this poll. People will just be AoEing, right, and not really focusing the one, and they just keep summoning more and more, and they die slower than they should. As you can see, we have 2 minutes 40 seconds, so I'm kind of like, I'm identifying that and saying we're just going to go pull now. Sanguine, I'm not going to pull this on top of boss, and honestly, I rarely pull mobs on top of boss in this dungeon anyway, like this specific scenario. I know some people do, but maybe we book it right after this. Yeah, okay, we take one Huntsmaster with this. I'm yelling at my paladin, heal, heal. She's fine. But we have 2:06. I know we need to pull this thing. You know, I know it's not tyrannical, but 2 minutes isn't necessarily a given. We do have lust. Hopefully we kill the right box here. And yeah, Hunter's dead in the corner. No problem. If you do pull Sanguine mobs in here, make sure to drop them in like the middle, so that when she, you know, when she books it to the side. Yeah. The whole group was ranged, but I'll tell you, I don't know. You can pretty much get it max melee from boss while people can still touch her and like still kind of drop it in the middle. And I should have been doing that, but I was like, oh, you know, we'll just do it in the middle because so you guys don't have to move as much. But you know, then I'm not hitting it, then the Holy Paladin's not hitting the boss. You probably want that, you know. And we are sans res, which is big unfortunate. 44 seconds. I genuinely don't remember if we do this or not. I think the ones after this, we don't. There's no way we do. They're like 30 seconds long. Which is fine. Doesn't matter. It's still a very good score if you come close to timing a 15. You know, if you're going for the mount. And it obviously doesn't matter if you're just looking for your weekly. So I'll take it. I know I said timer's free. I will advise that not everybody I always play with knows all the dungeons as well. But I don't know. I think we did well. You just lose time to stuff, and I don't know. I feel like I probably would have pulled more on my Paladin, which is probably true. But 15s, I've got no care in the world, because you can just take some other 15, like two-chested or something. The only feels bad is if you're on an alt and then you get the 259 item drop and it's something you want, right? So then you have to spend more valor to upgrade it. That's probably the only thing. But I got 5 points. I'm happy with that. Do I get anything? Oops, no. Anyway, that was Sanguine Depths. You know, I wish dungeons, they could knock 5 to 8 minutes off this would be fine. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.